Pet peeves are those things that people do or those things in life that really bother you. Pet peeves are things that you find annoying. So we're going to look at a few pet peeves this morning. You can see I have one pet peeve up here. This young man is chewing gum, and it looks like he's chewing quite loudly. I'm just going to check to make sure everything's working, but welcome. I'm Bob the Canadian. We're here today to do a lesson on pet peeves. I just want to say hello to everyone in the chat. Let me just check. Looks like everything is working. So we all have pet peeves. We all have those things in life or things that people do in life that really bother us. I have more pet peeves than most people. I'm not sure why, but there are a lot of things that bother me. There are a lot of things that other people do that I find annoying. So I'll kind of highlight as we go through some of my pet peeves. But right now, let's get started. Again, hello to everyone who is joining us. Hello to everyone in the chat and welcome to this lesson. So here's the first one. The letters are a little smaller this time, but the first pet peeve we're going to talk about is people who chew loudly or chew with their mouth open. So depending on where you are from in the world, this may or may not bother you. But this is something that bothers my wife in particular. Does not like it when our kids chew loudly. Or when they chew with their mouth open. So you can see here, I couldn't find a picture of a person chewing, but here is a cow, and the cow is chewing on some grass. Chewing is when you do this, when you're eating food. So our first pet peeve is people who chew loudly or chew with their mouth open. This one doesn't particularly bother me because usually if I'm eating with people, I like eating so much that I'm only really thinking about eating myself, eating my own food, and I don't usually hear everyone around me. You don't know me personally, but when I'm hungry, I'm really hungry. So when I eat, all I think about is the food I'm eating. I'm not usually too worried about what other people are doing. I'm just going to pause for a moment to welcome everyone. So we're a few minutes in. This is a lesson on pet peeves. And again, pet peeves are those things in life or things that people in life do that really bother you or that you find annoying. So again, hello to everyone in the chat. Before we continue, just remember if you have questions about the topic, which is pet peeves, Todd will be posting a link from time to time. And you can ask those questions via the Google form. Again, I will only be answering questions about the topic. So I know some of you have other questions. You can save those for tomorrow night's live stream, which is an open one. This is one of my biggest pet peeves. In fact, I think this is the biggest pet peeve that I have. And that is people who text and drive or use a phone while driving. So as a lot of you know, I go for a walk every morning and I walk along the road outside of my house. And oftentimes I see people driving and they have their head down while they're driving their vehicle because they are texting. Texting is when you send a text message to someone. So they are using their phone while they are driving. And I just find this really dangerous. And I find it's quite disrespectful because sometimes as I'm walking, they don't see me. They're just driving along, texting while driving their vehicle. It's a little crazy. So that's my biggest one. People who text and drive or who use their phone while driving. Please don't do that. For the amount of people we have in this chat, there's some of you that probably text and drive. I would hope that you guys don't do that. I'm going to do a couple more and then I'll start to take questions. Here we go. Let's see. People who are always late. So another interesting fact about pet peeves is often your pet peeve is something that you yourself don't do. So I am usually on time. You can tell from the live streams that I do every Friday and the live stream that I do every Saturday, we almost 99% of the time, we start on time. Bob the Canadian likes to be on time. I don't like to be late. So people who are always late, I find this quite annoying, especially if you are supposed to be in a meeting or if you are supposed to meet somebody and they show up late. I don't enjoy it. I'm usually way too early though, so that might actually bother other people, because if something starts at 8, I'm usually there at 10 to 8. If someone says, meet me at a coffee shop at 4, I'm usually there at 10 to 4. So maybe other people have a pet peeve, people who are always early, but I'm usually just a little bit bothered when people are not on time. Here's our next pet peeve. Let me see here. People who don't use their turn signal. So this is the back of a car. This is the signal light or turn signal. People who don't use their turn signal, or people who leave their turn signal on. So sometimes when I'm driving down the highway, there will be someone in front of me who has their turn signal on, but they don't ever turn. They just drive and drive and drive, and they don't ever turn the direction their turn signal says that they're going. But also there's people who don't signal or don't use their turning signal when they decide to turn. They just all of a sudden, they just turn. And both of those things, I think they bother me too. Is this going to be a video about things that bother Bob the Canadian? Possibly. Hey, let's jump over and take a few questions. I'm going to take the first one is from Agnes. Let me post that into the chat. Agnes from France says, hi and have a good day. Is it better to use right now or right away? It's one of my pet peeves. I like to do stuff right away. They're slightly different. But you can use both of them, and they are very, very common phrases. Like, let's say, I need a coffee right now, or I need a coffee right away. It just means there's an urgency to my need for a coffee, Agnes. So hopefully that makes some sense. Let's see here. Lolly has a question here. Lolly's question. Lolly is from France as well. Hi, Bob. Can I say I am the pet peeve of my family? No, that would not be a correct sentence. I totally understand your meaning, though, that you yourself and your personality might be a little bit annoying to your family. But no, you wouldn't say that you're the pet peeve of your family. If you were writing creatively, you might be able to say that, but it's not a standard way to describe yourself. You would say, my family finds me annoying, or my family finds me a bit much. I'll type that in. My family finds me a bit much. That would actually be a good phrase for later today. When you're a bit much, it means you're a little overwhelming for people. I don't think you're like that, Lolly. I'm sure you're fine. Let's see here. Let's see. I'm trying to find. Oh, here we go. Anna says, I'm Nesty. Hello. I don't like bad smells. How can I correctly say that? So I would say that one of your pet peeves is things that stink. Or bad smells. So you could say either. You were actually correct there. So you could definitely say that one of your pet peeves is that you don't like things that stink, or stinky things, or things that smell. Nathan GR says, Teacher Bob, happy Friday. Thanks, Nathan. Happy Friday to you. Annoying habits, are they similar to pet peeves? Thank you very much. Yes. So some people have very annoying habits. And you would also say, when they do that thing, you don't like it, so it's one of your pet peeves. So again, a pet peeve is something that you personally find annoying or something that bothers you. So let's see. People who use their phone when you are talking to them. So I can't show you an example because my phone's actually my camera right now. But I think many of us have had conversations where you're talking to a friend and every minute they look at their phone. So you're having a conversation, you're enjoying talking, but every time their phone makes a noise, even in the middle of a sentence, they look at their phone and they stop listening to you. So people who use their phone when you are talking to them, this is definitely another pet peeve. This one doesn't bother me very much. I think I might be guilty of doing this. I might be someone who does sometimes use my phone when I'm talking to other people. I really should stop doing that. But you can see in the picture here, this is the universal look that people have on their face when they're annoyed. Arms fold like this, right? Like arms folded, and then there's the friend on the phone. So in this picture, I would imagine these two friends decided they would go out for coffee or go out for something to eat. And this friend is on her phone the whole time. Not enjoyable. It's much better to either turn your ringer off or turn your notifications off on your phone when you're spending time with someone so that you're not distracted. Always a good one. Oh, let's see here. Here's another one. I'm sure some of you actually do this, but for some people, their pet peeve is people who drive with their windows down and their music really loud. So this is someone who has put a really loud radio or stereo in their car. Usually this is younger people. Usually these are young men who have a car with a really loud stereo, a really loud car radio. And they'll drive around with their windows down, and they'll have what we would say in English, the bass pumping. So it's like boom, 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 boom. It's obviously way louder than that, but some people, especially old people, don't like it when people drive with their windows down and their music really, really loud. This happens a lot in the summer. This can happen in at places like the beach. By the way, free.99 English, who's in the chat, he has a brand new video at the beach. You can learn some English at the beach. You should check out his channel. His name's Sean, by the way. He goes by free99, but his name's Sean. Anyways, sometimes when you go to the beach, if it's a beach where cars drive along the beach, like in Florida, people will drive along and they will crank their music. Let me put that in the chat. They will crank their music. So in English, when we say that you crank it up or you crank your music, it means that you play it really, really loudly. So people who drive with their windows down and their music really, really loud. I think there's got to be some of you in the chat who have a car with a really, really loud stereo. And I bet you some of you do that. So by the way, when I was a teenager, I did that. I had a really loud stereo in my car. Let's see here. Lolly has, I'm going to do a few questions here, everybody. Lolly says, people, they are always complaining and have lots of things to be happy about. So this is very true. It's too bad that so many of us, including me, complain a lot because life isn't really that bad. It's pretty good, I think. Let's see here. Amar has one, and I'm going to talk about this one in a little bit. Amar says, hi Bob, my horrible pet peeve is people who cut in the queue in front without apologizing in front of a counter or in front of the cashier. So we'll talk about this one in a little bit, but this is a big pet peeve. People who jump into the line in front of you or they cut the queue. Never a nice thing to do, not very polite. Let's see here. I'm going to try and figure out, I'm not sure about this one. Just give me one moment. I have to find the next question. Again, hello, everybody who's watching. I'm Bob the Canadian. We're doing a lesson right now on pet peeves, the things that bother you in life. Here's the next one. Abin TG says, I usually warn people who talk behind my back. It annoys me. So I tell people if they want to say something, they should talk to me directly. So this is another good pet peeve. When people talk behind your back, it means they talk about you when you are not there. That is what a pet peeve is. So let's see here. Next one is Nathan. Let me go to the next one. I think I might have this one. This is from Henry from Taiwan. Henry says, "Hi Bob, if I can't put up with some people who litter, smoke in public, would I let them know directly they are not doing the right thing? Your advice is appreciated." This is a tricky one, Henry. So pet peeves are things that bother you. Sometimes you want to tell people that it bothers you, but you do need to know them a little bit. You do need to know. It's hard to tell a stranger to stop smoking without an argument starting. So that's a tricky one. I personally don't. If I see someone smoking in public or doing something that bothers me, I usually don't say anything because I don't want to start an argument. I don't want to start a fight. So let's move on though. Here's another pet peeve. This is people who always have the same problem as you. So sometimes you share with someone a problem you are having or something else that's not going very well in your life, and they'll say, "Me too." And you're really looking for them to just listen. You're really looking for them to just have some sympathy, to feel bad for you. So you might say to someone, "Oh, I have a headache." And then that person says, "I have a headache too." And you might say to that person, "So yesterday I had the flu and I'm feeling a little bit better today." And the person might say, "Oh, I had the flu last week too." So I don't know if you know anyone like this, but there are people who always have the same problem as you, and it can be a little difficult because you're sharing with them, you're telling them something because you want them to have sympathy. So you might say, "Oh, I have a headache," and you want them to say, "Oh, I feel bad for you. Do you want some Advil or do you want some Tylenol?" But instead of feeling sympathy, instead of asking you about how your headache feels, they just say, "Oh, I had a headache. I have a headache too." So anyways, pet peeve, people who always have the same problem as you. This next one's kind of funny because I read this in the comments a lot, okay? In the comments of my videos. So this is people who slurp when they drink. So I slurp when I drink. And I don't do it in my live streams anymore, but I'm going to slurp right now. Everyone, if you don't like the sound of slurping, you should plug your ears. But people who slurp when they drink. So here's a good slurp. Did you hear that funny sound? So many times in the comments of my videos, in my earlier live streams, people would mention that they didn't like it that I slurp when I drink. So now instead I just say, "Oh, I need to take a little drink," and then I do this. And then you don't even hear me. So pet peeve, people who slurp when they drink. I should have put a picture of me here. This should have been a picture of Bob the Canadian. So, hey, anyways, we are going to keep moving here, but I just wanted to mention again, for all of you that have just joined us, we are doing a lesson on pet peeves. Pet peeves are the things that bother you or the things that annoy you in life. So we're looking at a few of them. I noticed there's 470 people watching. That's awesome. If you're new here, don't forget to click the subscribe button down there. I do lots of videos, lots of lessons to help people learn English. And if you guys could give me a thumbs up at some point, that would be really, really cool as well. But thank you to everyone who's here. Hi to everyone in the chat. Let me check if there are any more questions. There are. Dimitri has a good one. Dimitri says, "Is shouting at other drivers a pet peeve?" Yes, definitely. Sometimes people honk, like beep, beep, when they drive. And sometimes people yell, like, "Get out of my way." So definitely, if you don't like when people yell when they're driving, that would be a pet peeve of yours. So that was a good one, Dimitri. Thank you. Saeed has the question that is very challenging. Saeed says, how can we tell someone politely who is bothering us to stop? I think you just say, let's say someone's smoking on the subway and it's not allowed. You could just say, do you mind not smoking here? There is a sign that says no smoking and the smoke kind of bothers me. That would be one way to do it. But again, like I said earlier, I usually don't ask people to stop doing something if they're a stranger, if there's someone that I don't know. Norma says, hi Bob, is it correct if I say I'm not a pet peeve at all? You would say, I don't have any pet peeves. That would be the correct way to say it. Lolly has given us a super chat. Thanks, Lolly. She says, thanks for all your videos. You are very, very welcome. Thanks, Lolly. You're awesome. So you would say, I don't have any pet peeves. Remember, the pet peeve is the name for things that bother you. So you would say, one of my pet peeves is when people chew with their mouth open. So what you're saying is something that bothers me, something that annoys me is when people chew with their mouth open. So that would be how you would say that. Let me grab the next question. Kia, this is a good one. Kia says one of their pet peeves is people who talk on their phone loudly in public. So people who are in a public place and they're just like, yeah, sounds great. Yeah, tomorrow? Okay, I'll see you then. And it's just annoying. I like it when people put their earbuds in. I have a pair here somewhere. And then they just talk quietly to their microphone. Let's see here. This is from Mojtaba. How do you react to a pet peeve? In a polite way or in an angry way? So it really depends. So if my children are chewing with their mouths open, I will ask them politely to stop. But if they keep doing it, I will probably say it a little more sternly. When you're stern, it's not anger, but it's definitely a firm tone. So you would say, hey, could you stop chewing with your mouth open? That's a very polite. And then you could say, look, I said you needed to stop chewing with your mouth open. If you don't stop, we will take away your teddy bear. I don't know, that sounds mean. But anyways, that's how you would do it. But again, I usually only address pet peeves with people if they're people I know well. Let's see here. So the next one is from Syed from Somalia. Hi, sir. Good morning. Good morning, Syed. You're really doing a great job. Thank you. We can't thank you enough. Could you please tell us what are your pet peeves? So I think my biggest pet peeve is my two biggest ones we did already. People who text and drive. So they're like on their phone and they're supposed to be driving. And people who are late. Those are my pet peeves for sure. Let's see here. People are let's see here. Oh, Miroslav is here. Here is Miroslav's pet peeve, or is suggesting a pet peeve. When people put their feet or shoes on public tables or chairs, especially in the library, I tried to understand that behavior, but I can't. Other people have to sit there after them. So Miroslav is talking about someone who they sit down in a public place and then they put their feet, can't show you my feet. There's my foot. They put their feet up on a table or chair or bench in a place where people need to sit later. Yeah, I don't like that either, Miroslav. Let's see here. Mahdi Al-Shamari says, did you smoke when you were a teenager? Well, that's a rather personal question. And yes, I did actually smoke when I was younger. It was not a good idea. I quit a long time ago. I have not had a cigarette for probably 25 years. So when I was a teenager, there was a couple of years where I smoked. So let's see here. Next question. Oh, this is from Martina. This is great. Other people are posting some pet peeves in the chat. That's awesome. Martina says a pet peeve is when young people that don't stand up on the bus, young people that don't stand up on the bus to give the seat to an older person or to a woman who is pregnant. Yeah, generally it is polite to give someone a seat if they are elderly or if someone's pregnant. I would agree that would be a pet peeve of mine too. Okay, we kind of had this one, came through the questions, but in Canada we have non-smoking areas. There are places where you are not allowed to smoke. And for some people, a pet peeve is people who smoke in a non-smoking area. So, sometimes people just ignore the law. They ignore the signs and they smoke in an area where you are not supposed to smoke. So this is definitely another pet peeve. I had a friend visit from China and he was a smoker and he had trouble finding places to smoke in Canada. In Canada, there are not very many places left that you can smoke, even outside. So you can't smoke in a restaurant. You can't smoke in any public places. Even if you go to a restaurant and they have an outside or an outdoor seating area, you cannot smoke there. So you can smoke in your backyard in Canada, and I think you can smoke in your car if there's no passengers, but it's quite strict in Canada. Some of you might remember this from school, the sound of chalk on a chalkboard. So I have a whiteboard and I use whiteboard markers and they don't make any sound. But a long time ago, this was a blackboard and the sound of chalk, like eek, eek, chalk made a funny sound. Some people don't like the sound of chalk on a chalkboard, and they certainly don't like the sound of nails. So these are your nails. So if you scratch, if this was a chalkboard or blackboard and you scratched it, it would make a really, really horrible sound. So anyways, the sound of chalk or nails on a chalkboard. People who cough, so coughing, without covering their mouth. So sometimes there are people, you'll see them walking and they will have a coughing fit or they will start coughing. And instead of covering their mouth with their hand, or we're supposed to do it this way now, or like this. You're supposed to cough into your elbow because then you don't have the germs, the cold germs on your hand if you shake someone's hand later. So cough like this, but sometimes people will cough without covering their mouth. I think that's pretty rude. I think when you cough, you should cover your mouth. Let's see here, Edgar. Edgar's asking if farting is considered a pet peeve. So yes, possibly, Edgar. I just saw that in the chat. And if you don't know what farting is, you need to look it up. Let's see here. I'm gonna do a couple more and then we'll do some questions. Let's jump over to here. People who stop suddenly when walking in front of you. This is a little bit my pet peeve. Actually, a bigger pet peeve of mine would be people who walk really slow. But people who stop suddenly when walking in front of you. So sometimes you're walking along and you're walking pretty fast and the person in front of you all of a sudden just stops. Maybe they're on their phone, maybe they got distracted, and then all of a sudden you have to stop and you need to go around them. So definitely a pet peeve for some people is people who stop suddenly when walking in front of you. I think this would bother me, but I don't live in an area of Canada where there are lots of people. So I don't often have it where there are people walking in front of me. Usually when I'm walking, there's no one in front of me because I live in a really small, well, I live outside of town, but when I go to town, it's a really small town. Let's see here. We had this one come up in the questions. In Canada, we say people who cut in line. And I think in Britain and a little bit in Canada, we say people who jump the queue. So let's say you're waiting in line and there's 20 people ahead of you and you go to get something out of your bag and when you look up, there's 22 people ahead of you. And then you check your phone and next time you look up, there's 25 people in front of you because people are jumping in or cutting in or jumping the queue, okay? So they are getting in line ahead of you. And I read something interesting about this yesterday. It said something like, if one person jumps the queue, or if one person cuts in line, the rest of the people in line, 5% of the people will be annoyed. But if two people cut in line, over 90% of the people will be annoyed. So it's interesting. I think when you see one person cut in line or jump the queue, sometimes you think they had a friend waiting and maybe they just went to the bathroom and came back. But when you see two people or more jump in line or cut in line, that you start to get annoyed. So let's look at a few questions. Agnes says, the noise in a library, can we say it's my pet peeve, or is it better to say it's painful? Thank you. I would say it's your pet peeve. But aren't libraries usually quiet? Oh, when people make noise in the library, I understand. So you like the library to be quiet, but it's a pet peeve of yours when people make noise in the library. I'm pretty sure that's what you were saying. Let's see here. Next one. Noon White says, my pet peeve is when other people fail to attend an appointment without a proper explanation. Is there a word for these kind of people? No, there's no word for it, but I think they're just rude. I think when you have an appointment and then you're late for an appointment, or you totally miss the appointment, that's not very nice. Let's see here. Let's see. Abintig says, it's so annoying when someone says that you need to change your attitude by yourself, although they are not perfect either. Yeah, so it's interesting when people tell you should change your attitude, but you actually think maybe you need to change your attitude. Let's look at the next question. Gaga. This is not on topic, but Gaga says, have you eaten breakfast? Yes, I had a boiled egg and a little bit of spice cake. You're not supposed to eat cake for breakfast, but we had a little bit of cake. So I had a boiled egg and some spice cake. Judith, who watches the live streams sometimes later, she usually reminds me that I should be eating healthy. So cake for breakfast is not healthy. Let's see here. Mr. Mo says, why is it called a pet peeve? I actually don't know the answer to that, Mr. Mo. But when you have to look up the word peeve, that will give you some idea. Anything that you have that's a pet is like a little animal, but you can also have other things where you use the term pet. So a pet peeve means it's a personal annoyance. It's something that annoys you. So that was not a great explanation, Mr. Mo. You should definitely Google that. Let's see here. Nastya says, I do not like it when people I do not like it when people walk and do not take their feet off the ground and make a shuffling sound. That's interesting. I haven't thought of that one before, Nastya. I think that might annoy me. In Canada, I don't know if I hear that very much. But anyways, let's keep going. Let's see here. Amar says, a pet peeve of mine is when people stop their car in front of your garage door and you cannot take your vehicle out. In Canada, you do not have this problem, not like in Paris. That would be annoying. So what Amar is saying is, you have your car in the garage and you have the door closed, and then someone parks right behind you and then you can't get your car out. That would be very, very annoying for sure. Let's see here. Nathan GR says, Teacher Bob, a pet peeve could also be when someone stares at you intensely, without reason. That could be, yes, definitely. So if you want to know what staring is, I will stare at you guys for a second here. Did that freak you out? Did that scare you? I hope not. But what Nathan is saying, a pet peeve is when people stare at you, maybe on the bus or subway, for no reason. I wouldn't like that. That would not be enjoyable for me. Let me get back to the lesson though. So here's another pet peeve. This was a pet peeve of mine when I was in school. Teachers who misspell your name. So my name's Bob. This is not how you spell Bob. Bob is like this, B-O-B, Bob. It's a very, very simple name to spell. But when I was in school, sometimes people would write Bob with two B's, or they would write Bobby, or they would write Robert. Here, let me put that on the board for you because this is kind of a strange one. So Robert is my real name, okay? Bob is like a nickname or a short form of my name. And I had a teacher who would write Robert. That's not even a name. That's not even a common name in Canada. But teachers who misspell your name, another pet peeve. Here's another one. People who interrupt you while you are talking. So I think this lady is trying to talk, and I think this guy keeps interrupting her. So sometimes you are having a conversation with a friend, and you can't even finish your sentences. Every time you try to finish your sentence, your friend just starts talking. So people who interrupt you while you are talking, definitely a pet peeve. This is another one. Oh, just one sec. I'm going to erase the board for a moment. There, now you know what erase the board is. I might do my live stream next week on school. So I might talk about all kinds of things in a school. But anyways, let's get back to this. Oh, before we do though, I just want to say hi again. Remember, if you are new here, hit the subscribe button, thumbs up. And don't forget to come back tomorrow or over the weekend. There will be English subtitles here if you need to review some of the things that I have said. And Jinta says, Robert is your first name. Yes, Bob and Robert are the same name. I don't know if you knew that. People who sing along to a song in a car with you. So sometimes you are riding in a car with people and a really good song comes on the radio. A song comes on that you really want to listen to. But the person you are with starts singing along to the song. And it's kind of ruining the song for you. So people who sing along to a song in a car with you can be annoying. I couldn't find a good picture of it, but this lady's singing and her dog looks a little bit annoyed, doesn't he? He looks like, oh, I wish she would stop singing so I could listen to my favorite song. Next one. People who talk in the theater during a movie. So this really bothers me. Dude, I think a lot of these things bother me. When I go to see a movie in the theater, I do not like it when people talk during the movie. It can be quite frustrating because you've paid a lot of money to see a movie and you just want to sit and listen and enjoy the movie. And sometimes the people behind you just talk the whole time. And that is not very enjoyable. So people who talk in the theater during a movie, never fun. And here's another one about movies. When a phone rings during a movie, if you're watching a play, sometimes you're sitting and you're just enjoying the movie. It's a super good movie and you just love watching it. And then all of a sudden someone's phone will ring or someone will get a notification. So their phone will beep or buzz or ring. That can be very, very annoying as well. Continuing on with the theme of phones, we have people who take too many selfies. I don't know if you've ever been with someone who takes too many selfies, but a selfie is when, I think we all know what a selfie is. It's when you hold your camera up and you smile and you take a picture of yourself. But some people, when you're out, they take selfies way too often, like 1 or 2 selfies at the beginning of the evening, maybe 1 or 2 selfies while you're out walking around. But people who take selfies every 2 or 3 minutes, it can get a little bit annoying. So another pet peeve, people who take too many selfies. Let's jump over to the questions and we'll go through a few more questions and suggestions. Mojtaba says, people who don't remove their sunglasses when they're talking to you, it drives me crazy. That would drive me crazy too. I don't have my sunglasses here, but some YouTubers wear sunglasses when they do their videos. And I always wonder why, because it's nice to see someone's eyes. Let's see here. Katrina says, I can't stand people who bite their nails. Yeah, so some people they bite their nails. It's not a good thing. You should just trim your nails with a nail clipper and keep them nice and short. Unless you like long nails and nail polish. But for me, you shouldn't bite your nails at all. Let's see here. Neymar says, this one, I have a sheet for this too. Neymar says, people who leave their dog poop. So when they walk their dog and their dog goes poop and they just leave it. That is very, very annoying. Let's see. This is from Marcel says, cars that stop in front of the supermarket and the drivers start to use their horns so a salesman will come and take their order. That would be really annoying. Yes, for sure. Actually, car horns in general are pretty annoying, aren't they? Let's see here. Andre Cruciant says, so in Canada, do you have problems with loud music in cars too? Yes, we do. What about people listening to music from their smartphones without earphones or headphones? Yes, we definitely have that problem. And I think I have a sheet to show that as well. Let's see here. Dimitri says, let me get this one pasted over everybody. Dimitri says, when you tell someone don't smoke in a non-smoking area and they always argue about their right to smoke everywhere. Sometimes smokers think they have the right to smoke everywhere, and they like to argue about it. Let's see here. Kazuyo Yamashita says, I don't really like to see girls doing makeup or brushing their hair on the train in the morning. Do you see this kind of behavior in Canada? I don't ride the train every day, but I'm sure there are people shaving. I'm sure there are men shaving on the train. There are probably women who are doing their makeup or doing their hair on the train as well. There's probably men putting on their tie. When you're in a rush, I think sometimes that can happen. Let's see. Next one. Let's see. I'm just reading through. Gabo. So here we have Gabo saying, hi, Bob. Thanks for your time. In the case of pet peeves for me, instead of bother me, could I use the phrase nitpick? So it's nitpick. I think it's one word. Nitpick is when you are constantly telling somebody to change their behavior. So I am a nitpicker. I tend to nitpick. I tell my children, pick up after yourselves, do the dishes, don't leave your toys on the floor. So nitpicking is when you're just constantly telling someone how to behave. I'm gonna make sure I have the word correctly here. Nitpicking, looking for small or unimportant errors or faults, especially in order to criticize. So that's what nitpicking is. So I do nitpick quite a bit, actually. Varghese here has one. Varghese says, is it correct to say it is an irritating sound or it is an irritable sound? The most correct one would be to say it is an irritating sound, or I find that sound irritating, but you might want to use the word noise instead. So a sound can be nice or it can be not very nice, but noise already is describing it as being a little bit annoying. So I would say it is an irritating noise, or that noise really bothers me. So this is cultural, depending on what part of the world you are in. So public displays of affection are when people kiss or hug in a public place. In Canada, people generally don't kiss or hug each other in public places. And generally, we are uncomfortable when people do this, but it depends on the situation. You might see people kissing at a concert at night. That would probably be okay. But if you were walking in the park with your children in the afternoon and there were two people on a park bench kissing each other, most people are uncomfortable with that. It's a public display of affection. And I think in some cultures, this wouldn't bother people at all. In some countries, people would be fine with this. And in some countries, people would be uncomfortable with public displays of affection. So that would be things like holding hands. So if you see two people holding hands, giving each other a kiss, giving each other a hug, walking with their arms around each other. Some of those things in Canada are totally fine. And some of those things people would be like, oh, yeah, I'm uncomfortable when people publicly display their affection. I'm not sure if this ever has happened to you, but people who eat your food from the fridge at work, this can happen sometimes. It doesn't usually happen at my work, but where I work, there is a fridge where all of the workers, all of the teachers put their lunch. And at some workplaces, people eat other people's food. That would really bother me. This one, people who put gum under a table or bench when they are done chewing it. So you can see this girl is blowing a bubble, so she is chewing gum. Sometimes people chew gum and then when they're done, they take it and they stick it under a bench or they stick it under a table in a restaurant. And that is really annoying as well. People who put gum under a table or bench when they are done chewing it. You should definitely not do that. If you chew gum, please put your gum in the garbage. Just one sec. So I covered my mouth when I coughed there, just so you know. I made sure that I did that. And I'm gonna have a drink too, 1 second. This, I think, bothers everybody in the world. And that is bad drivers. So people who are really bad at driving, you can see here, all these cars are crowded into one area. I would imagine everyone is honking at each other. But a pet peeve of many people in the world would be bad drivers. People who just don't know how to drive. They drive too fast. They don't stay in their lane. They cut you off. So when you get cut off, you're driving and someone comes and then they pull in front of you really quickly. So people who are bad drivers, pet peeve. Another one is people who don't actually listen when you are talking to them. I don't know if you know anyone like this, where you say something in the conversation and then they talk about themselves, and then you say something else in the conversation and then they talk about themselves. So it can be annoying when people don't actually listen when you are talking to them. So I'm sure most of you are good drivers. I see a few people in the chat talking about that. Again, welcome to everybody who's here. We're talking about pet peeves today. Again, if you are new here, don't forget to subscribe and thumbs up and all that fun stuff. And I'm Bob the Canadian. I teach English on YouTube and you're watching one of the lessons right now. Another pet peeve is a person who is always the expert on any topic. So I don't know if you can see this man's face, but he looks like someone who no matter what you are talking about, he will know everything about that subject. So maybe you're talking about cars and you say, my car isn't running very good. And the person who always knows everything might say, well, you know, it's a good idea to get the oil in your car changed every month. Are you doing that? And then you might be talking about movies and you might say, oh, I really liked the last Spider-Man movie. And then the person who is always the expert on any topic might say, well, you know, there's actually 7 different Spider-Man movies that have been released over the last 12 years. By the way, I don't know if that's true. I'm just pretending. But I think all of us know a person who is always the expert on any topic. Sometimes that's me. Sometimes this person is me. I try not to be an expert on every topic, but sometimes I like just jumping in. So Felipe says his biggest pet peeve is people on YouTube all the time like they don't have a job. Well, you know, everyone has a different commitment in life. This one bothers me, spam email. So spam email is email that you get that you didn't ask for. So sometimes when you check your email, you have like 2 emails, one from a friend, one from a boss, or from your boss, and then you have 7 from people trying to sell you something. So spam email is another one. We had this one, people who walk their dog and don't clean up after it. So here it says, scoop your pet's poop. So dogs tend to poop, and when you walk a dog, you should clean up the poop if your dog goes poop. You should have a pooper scooper. That's what this little shovel is. We call that a pooper scooper. And you should have little bags, and you should clean up after your dog. In Canada, it's the law. You can't leave if your dog goes poop, you have to clean it up. It's the law. You can be fined if you don't clean up after your dog. And continuing on a similar theme, people who flick their cigarette butts on the ground. So when people smoke, when they're done smoking, sometimes they flick. So they'll flick their cigarette butt. So the cigarette butt is what's left when you're done smoking. And they'll finish smoking, and then they'll just flick their cigarette butt on the ground. This can also be dangerous because it can start fires. If you're in a campground or a forested area, or even if the grass along the side of the road is dry, cigarette butts, if you flick them, can start fires. So it's also very dangerous. So you shouldn't do that. And then just in general, people who litter. So this person has thrown their pop can or their soda can on the ground. If you've watched any of my videos, like when I teach English at the park and those kinds of things, I often talk about how I like it when people keep the world clean. So don't litter. It's not very nice to litter. So people who litter. And then this one makes me laugh. Sometimes people go on vacation, and it can be a little annoying. But when people show you 5,000 pictures of their vacation. So sometimes a relative will go on a trip, they'll go on vacation, and when they come back, they'll have like so many pictures. It's kind of boring to look at all the pictures. So sometimes people show you, I just wrote 5,000 here for fun, just a big number. But sometimes people go on a trip, and then they come back and they show you 5,000 pictures of their trip, or 10,000 pictures of their trip. Let's see here. Marius Cyprian says, "Hi Bob, do you mind when someone works in a slow way when you interact with them? Thank you." So when I work with people, I like them to work the same speed as me. So I don't know how to answer that one, Marius. I'm a pretty fast worker, and then I usually would like people to work the same speed as me. Let's see here. Ali says, "Hi Bob, thanks for teaching us." You're welcome, Ali. My pet peeve is people who talk to me with their sunglasses on. Yes, that can be very annoying. Let's see here. Anna from the Ukraine says, "I don't like it when people spit on the floor and when they interrupt too much while having a conversation. It's annoying." So people who spit on the floor. So again, spitting, I'm not going to spit, but it's when you go, "Tuh." So you spit saliva out of your mouth. Yeah, that's not very nice. I wouldn't like that either. Katerina, this is a good one. Katerina says, a pet peeve is people who stay too close to you in line, or people who stand too close to you in line. It makes me uncomfortable. That would make me uncomfortable too. I don't like it when people stand really close. I don't like it when people look over my shoulder when I'm in line. Sometimes I'm on my phone when I'm waiting in line, and the person behind me will be looking at my phone. Let's see here. I don't know this word. I hope it's not a bad word. Cercio says, "I don't like people who slouch or are phubbing. They are bad habits, and also clicking their pen." So click, 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 click. Do I have a pen like that here? I don't think I do. Oh, I have a mechanical pencil. So this is what you find annoying. So some people, if you're in a classroom, they'll sit and they'll listen and they'll be like, and they'll just keep doing, that is annoying. I wouldn't like that at all. And I have to look up phubbing because I don't know what it is. Let's see. Oh, I see. It's when you're using your phone and not paying attention to someone. Yeah, that's annoying. Very annoying. Let's see. Let's see here. The next one is from Ogi. Ogi or Ogi says, "People who walk very slowly And when you're walking behind them and then you can't walk faster. Yes, that is very annoying. Let's see. Oh, Madi is actually talking about what I just talked about. Hi, people snooping on your mobile and you don't know. So that would be, I'm on my phone and someone right here is looking at my screen while I'm on my phone. That's not very kind. Svetlana in the chat says, what about people sitting with their feet on the table? We did have that one, Svetlana. Svetlana. Sorry, that's a hard name for me to say. Svetlana. For sure. Let's see here. Oh, Anna from the Ukraine has a really good pet peeve here. People, when someone tells me the end of a film or a book that I wanted to watch or read, that would be very, very annoying. So maybe there's a movie that you really want to go see, and then someone at work or one of your friends tells you how it ends. That would be very annoying. That would be very, very annoying. Let's see here. Irma. This is a great question because I have a page for this. Irma says, hi, Bob. It's annoying when someone has fragrant food on the bus or other public transportation. So smells can be annoying. In fact, the smell of food can be annoying to some people. Body odor can be annoying to some people. So body odor is when you sweat a lot and then you stink. But also, some people find the smell of perfume or cologne that is too strong. So sometimes people put on too much perfume, or too much cologne. So perfume is worn by women. So it's like, spray, and then you rub together, or maybe you do this. Cologne is worn by men. And you can see I think it's Chanel No. 5 there. When you talk about perfume, you should always talk about perfume from France. I think they probably make the best perfume. Let's ask Lolly. Lolly is the best perfume from France. Let us know in the chat. Anyways, perfume or cologne, that is too strong. That can definitely be annoying for some people, especially if you have to sit close to someone. Sometimes when you go on the subway or the metro or on a bus, there can be someone who has really strong perfume or really, really strong cologne. Let's look at a few more. Let's see here. Alfonso from Spain says, when people talk too much in a conversation and think it's only their idea is good, that would be annoying. That kind of describes me though. Usually when I'm in a conversation, I always think my idea is the best idea. So Agnes has a question here. Is it better to say someone or somebody who interrupts you all the time? So you could say, it annoys me when somebody interrupts. Let's see, how would I say that nicely? Someone who interrupts you all the time, somebody who interrupts you all the time. You could say both, Agnes. They both work fine. Dylan has a question here. Do pet peeves mean something that annoys somebody? Yes, that's what a pet peeve is. Something that annoys somebody. Let's see here. Syed from Somalia says, when people don't come or miss an appointment that we had, and they miss it on purpose, can I say that that person bailed on me? Yes. So that would accurately describe someone bailing on you. So if you say to your friend, meet me at the cafe tomorrow at 10, and then you go to the cafe and then you're there at 10, and then it's 10:05, and then it's 10:10, and your friend hasn't showed up yet, you could say that your friend bailed on you. You could also say they're a no-show. That's another way to describe it. Katrina, I like this one. One of my pet peeves is when you're in a public bathroom, but there is no toilet paper in the stall. That is very, very annoying. Absolutely, for sure. Let me see here. Miroslav says, pet peeve is almost every time people mix up the country I am from, Serbia, with Siberia or Syria. Yes, people from Canada don't usually have that problem, but I could see how people would get that mixed up. Let's see here. Let's see. Oh, let me see this one. Henry says, a pet peeve would be when someone keeps the fridge open because one is too busy minding his own food and too lazy to close the fridge. For your information, it's a communal fridge. You know, that reminds me, Henry, another pet peeve of mine is when sometimes my children open the fridge to find a snack, and they stand with the door open while they look at what's in the fridge, and then all the cold air from the fridge starts to come out. Let's see here. Ianchik Korolevich says, I heard that American people tend to make small talk with strangers. Yeah, Canadians and Americans tend to talk to strangers. It's a cultural thing. We certainly do that. Let's see here. Kyber says, oh, I see, yes. Kyber says, hi, sir. My question is, what can we call the hair of a pet on your body in English? So sometimes people have pet hair. We just say pet hair or dog hair or cat hair. Sometimes you'll sit by someone and they'll just have dog hair on their shirt or on their back or on their pants, or they'll have cat hair on them. So that would be a little bit annoying. Let's see here. Let's see. I'm trying to find another one. Oh, here's from Sam. Sam says, it bothers me when people boss me around. Sorry, I'm not going to be able to get to all the questions, everybody. There's quite a few here. Mao says, a pet peeve is when people do not close the lid properly on a soda bottle. Let's see here. Marius Cyprian says, hi there are annoying people who criticize and talk badly online and when someone makes a live or when they argue, and those people are, oh yes. Sometimes during live streams, people in the chat say rude things. That's why Todd is here. Todd takes care of that for me in my live streams. Let's see here. Mao says a pet peeve is when my little toe hits the corner. So we call that stubbing your toe. So when you stub your toe, so pretend this is my foot, and then you're walking and then you hit your foot against something and it hurts. We say that's stubbing your toe. Henry says, when people throw food down the sink and it gets clogged. Yes. Roseanne says, Bob, I think this lesson will make a lot of people think about what they have been doing. Hopefully if you're someone who drives with the windows down and loud music, you'll think about it for a bit. Let's see here. And then Mon, we're going to finish this off the same place we started. Mon says, I find it very annoying when people make noises while eating and chewing food. So, hey everyone, it's been an hour. This has been a great lesson. Please remember that if you come back tomorrow, there will be subtitles here in English. So if there were parts of this lesson that you didn't understand, do come back and watch that part again. I'm Bob the Canadian. If you are new here, please subscribe, give me a thumbs up. We are going to wrap this up. We are going to end this lesson. This was super fun. Thank you so much for all the people that put their pet peeves in the question box in the form. That was awesome. Thanks to Todd for monitoring the chat. Thanks to Sean from Free 99 English. You should visit his channel, for hanging out as well. And I just thank all of you for coming and watching. Have a good weekend. I know some of you, it's Friday morning, so you have to work today yet, or you have to go to school. I know for some of you, it's Friday night, and you're already celebrating the weekend. So thank you so much for watching. Again, I'm Bob the Canadian. I'm going to push the stop button. And I will keep talking a little bit here.